Hello, should I invest in property? It's a curious question, isn't it? I mean, have you ever read or seen the Sunday Times rich list? It's awash with people who are so rich they can't even count their money. And whilst I'm guessing, you may not have any aspirations to be on this list, I'm also going to assume that you are listening to this because you're not quite sure. In this episode, I'm going to share 4 reasons why you should invest in property and what to consider next. If you like what you hear, remember, please hit subscribe and like my channel. So, property. Is it for me? Isn't it for me? Well, here is one thing a lot of the entries on the Sunday Times rich list have in common. You guessed it, property. So, while the simple answer may be yes, it's a little more complicated than that, and I want to break it down for you into a few simple ideas based on over 25 years in business and property investment. Let's kick off with the doctrine of self. Now, when I say self, I mean this in the sense of the understanding that you have of you, the person, the mind, the connection with everybody and everything on our planet. Now, this is not about some hokey pokey religion or trying to convert you to New Age thinking. No. This is much more important. This is about you truly understanding yourself, what it is you want, what it is you're prepared to do for it, how you are prepared to live your life, and finally, how are you going to execute on this, your life, your one shot, your chance. So the doctrine of self is very much about the starting point of your understanding, because I can tell you property strategies, I can share tactics, I can give you tools, I can show you codes, I can break this all down for you and show you how easy investing in property can be. But if yourself, and I mean this in the capital self, does not embrace this, does not understand it, is not willing to be open to new ways of thinking, new ways of doing, then my work here is in vain. And your time spent taking this information in is wasted, frankly. Now, perhaps it is enough just for you now to believe and trust in me when I say yes, you should invest in property, and I'm going to show you why right now. But please be aware, when I'm sharing this information, you will find what some call the monkey or the ego in the back of your head saying, well, this isn't right, or you can't do this, or that doesn't make any sense, or some people can do it, but not you. Ignore this. Put it to one side and be focused on the message. Try and understand the words at the same time. Our next idea for you to contemplate is what I call the planning code. Yes. Now, you may have heard the term planning in many different guises, from preparing a project plan to planning what you'll be doing, say, this weekend, to applying for, say, planning permission to build something. The planning code is all around your ability and your understanding to take control and the plan, because if you don't let me tell you, this is what will happen. Regret, unhappiness, wasted opportunities, melancholy, sadness, and 100 what ifs. It is imperative that you plan, but most humans try to avoid this. You've probably got that friend that says to you, I don't like to plan anything, I just like to go with the flow. Now that can work in certain circumstances, in certain scenarios, for sure. And if you're leaving, say, this aspect of your life down to luck, then good luck, but no pun intended. But is this really what you want to choose for yourself when you get to the end of your life? You're looking back and reminiscing about what you have and haven't done. Maybe, maybe not. I'll put it to you that the greatest thing that you can do for yourself, for your family, for your future legacy is plan the heck out of your life. Now, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. And probably property investment is not really for you, because if you want to invest in property, you have to plan at some level, right? It's not just going to happen. But if you don't want to, that's fine. I don't judge you. I don't blame you. I just accept that that's what it is. Now, this is where planning gets exciting though. Now, if you can imagine that you can dream what it is you like. And once you've dreamt what it is that you would like, you can then create a plan around how you would like to get it. I mean, how exciting is that? I mean, seriously, everything you see around you has been planned. And whether you believe in God or universal being or anything of that nature, all you need to do is look up, take in everything that you can see that was planned, that came from somebody dreaming and then creating it. The cup, the pen, the pad of paper, the tablet, the laptop or phone that you're listening to this information from, the radiator, the window, the tray, the bench, the bird, the house, everything you see, someone dreamed it, someone planned it, then it was created. Now, some people say, I don't believe I can do this, it never happens to me. But the thing is, these things do take time. And you can plan something, and it may not happen for 10, 15, or even 25 years. In fact, sometimes it may never happen at all. But if you've got a firm plan in place, then surely just the joy of the journey along that path to try to get to that goal is going to be a heck of a lot more interesting than wandering around aimlessly from day to day, week to week, with no real intention or direction on where your life is going. Now, the fundamental core behind having a plan is this. It gives you clarity. It gives you direction. I always liken it to, if I'm going to right now leave my house and let's say go to Frankfurt, how would I get there? Would I just get my car and start driving? Of course not. I want to plan out how exactly I am going to get there. Am I, for instance, going to take a train? Am I going to take an airplane? How am I going to get to the airport? From going to the airport, am I getting a taxi? Am I getting a train to the airport? Am I maybe driving myself, then parking up? What it is that I'm going to do when I get there? Where am I going to stay? How long am I going for? Now, this is a plan. This is a mini plan for sure. This thing about your life is you need a plan too. This doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have pages upon pages upon pages, but it does need to be a plan. And if anything you take away from this, it's if you're going to be successful, you want to take control of your life, you need a plan. You need a plan. Now, we're going to look at another idea. Whilst planning is fundamentally important, and there are dozens of tools and strategies and techniques and tips I can give you on this topic, now I want to cover another one, which is equally important. But before we do this, if you've liked this episode so far, remember, please do hit subscribe and also like my channel. It really helps more people benefit from hearing this highly valuable information. And thank you. So here we go. The next one is the survival code. So why is this so important? Okay, because fundamentally humans have a set of needs, and these were described in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And one of them is our ability to want to and have to survive. So if we're approaching this from the perspective of building this up, creating this, then it's important for us to push this through in a way that allows us to create a plan. The first thing we need to do is survive, and this is the first step along the way. So, to speak of the grand idea, should you invest in property? Why, yes, you should, but be aware that to begin with, you'll be investing to survive. Let's put it this way. If you're in a job right now and say you're earning £40,000 per year, most investors will start off with the idea of replacing the income with income from property. And the ultimate aim to then, as we say in the UK, jacking in the job and live off the proceeds of your rental income. Now you see, to invest in property is not just about putting money into property, it's also about providing lifestyle and choice and freedom, topics we'll cover in another session. But for now, the best thing that you can do, the quickest thing you can do, is to understand, should I invest in property, is very simply, on the back of an envelope or a post-it note or whatever it is, write down the following. What are your monthly expenses right now? Roughly, how much is your rent or your mortgage? What are you paying for utilities? How much are you spending on, let's say, entertainment, car, commuting, insurance, savings accounts, going out, hobbies, clothes? So pretty much everything you spend in a month. But how much is that right now? Because that, my friend, is a survival code. Now let's say you're earning, for instance, 25,000 a year, you're single, your take home after tax is, let's call it £1,800 per month. I'm just giving you an example here. And you've worked out that your current bills or expenses amount to £1,200 per month. So this is the survival code. This is what I call your survival financial freedom. That's the number to which you have to get in order to not have to work anymore, if that is what you wish to do. It's also the number that you need to get to if you wish to have alternatives and choice. Let's say that you actually pretty much like your job, but you do want to create an additional income stream, because this is about creating constructs for the next idea, which I'll show in one moment. Now, if you've managed to create income so that you don't have to or need to pay your expenses anymore from your salary, this means you can utilize your salary to do other things, which could be, let's say, stuff you've always wanted to do, but maybe you've been putting off, such as, that grand holiday or an amazing bit of kit that you've wanted, such as, I don't know, a car, a home hi-fi, gym equipment, or whatever it may be. But with the extra income coming in, you can afford to do that. But you can also think about considering the next idea, which is this: the wealthy construct. Now, this idea is all around the creation of legacy and the creation of building up assets for the future. Generations. This is not something you should enter into lightly. It's not something you should just choose one day to do and the next day decide not to do it, because this will take planning. It will take living frugally for a period of time. It will take discipline, dedication, and certainly tenacity. But the end goal, the end result, will be a wealth beyond your imagination. And by that, I mean this. We talk about millionaires and billionaires all the time, but have you ever truly, really sat down and thought, what does it actually look like? What does it actually mean? How does it impact me? How do I make this a reality for myself? There's a reason why most lottery winners who win millions of pounds or dollars very rapidly go broke and end up being exactly where they were, and sometimes in a worst case scenario 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, because a lot of this comes down to the first idea I showed, which is this whole concept of the doctrine of self. In order to embrace and take upon new ideas, we need to embrace and take upon our own self. We need to be open to those new ideas and those new ways of learning and changing in order to develop ourselves better. Now, not everyone is able to do this, certainly quickly, and it does require work and effort, it does require sacrifice, but if you're able to do it, if you're able to set out this plan, if you're prepared to live in a very frugal manner, you can, I promise, you can build enormous wealth. And this may not happen overnight. This could take 10 to 20 years, but you can still live a very nice life along the way and enjoy all the creature comforts that come with this. But it is about creating that plan, focusing on the survival element of essentially replacing your tyranny of paying the bills every month, and then focusing on building up your wealth on a consistent basis. Because what are the options if you're not going to invest in property? What else are you going to do? So the typical person will do this. They'll join a company, they'll join the pension scheme. They may not do this straight away. It might take them a little while to get up and running. There may even be, say, barriers to entry, where you've got to be there for 6 months or so before you can join, whatever it may be. But then you start paying some money into the pension, and the company matches with their own contributions. And you think, all right, it's going to be all hunky-dory. And then you look at your pension pot a few years later and think, well, that doesn't look very good, and it's not really going to make me very much every year, and it's not improving every year, and what's happening on this, and what's this large management charge for? And how do I take control of this pot of money and do something better with it? It's one of the main reasons why people invest in property, because the control is down to you. The upside, the downside, it's down to you, but it's down to you. Now, too many people are very keen to mitigate responsibility, abdicate responsibility, and pass on responsibility over people, and then blame them when it goes wrong. But you're not one of those kind of people, are you? No. You're someone that's going to take control. You're going to make this happen for yourself. So why should you invest in property? 2 reasons. Firstly, property is the only asset that you can leverage against and borrow money against. Sometimes, depending on how it's done, up to 100% the value of the property. Property, secondly, gives you cash flow from day one if you set it up properly. And property also gives you something that stocks and shares can never, which is kind of the third reason: capital appreciation. So it's commonly agreed that property generally doubles in value every decade or so. So let's say you bought a property for £100,000. In 10 years' time, it should be worth £200,000. Now, we're not going to get in today in terms of what you would do with this, how you would utilise this additional capital, but you're not going to get this in stocks and shares. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope that you took some learning points away from it. And remember, when you're considering the question, should I invest in property? I would leave you with this question: why shouldn't you invest in property? Because if you can come up with a list of 10 plus reasons why you shouldn't, do send it to me. Because I feel confident that I can batter down most of those, if not all of them, and show exactly why that thinking is potentially wrong, potentially going to impact your wealth significantly. Most importantly, why the real reason to invest in property is to take control back and to allow yourself to build up your wealth and not hand it to governments or tax officials, wherever you may be in the world. So this is Matthew Moody from the League of Extraordinary Investors. If you enjoyed this session, please do subscribe, show some love, maybe even like this episode if you have. Give me a comment or a question. I'd love to hear them. Drop them below or wherever you are able to put comments or questions, and I will certainly happily answer them. Until next time. Divite in conspectu bonis. Legatum cum viventum.